This says we are live. Hello, YouTube. Today, gonna drink a little coffee, talk a little Star Wars. Live stream talking about Star Wars, about gaming, about collectibles, kind of whatever grabs me on any given day. And today, I saw an article from at StarWars.com. Well, I saw it on Google News actually. Clicked over to StarWars.com to read about the new books that Disney is putting out. Four new books coming out in 2022. So I'm going to pull that article up and let's go through it. Where's my little thing? There's my little thing. Yeah, this is at StarWars.com. And yeah, let's read through this, shall we? New books. All right, here we go. We're messing with sacred ground here. New books starring Luke and Lando, Obi-Wan and Anakin, and more. Revealed exclusive. Okay. So we're going to read through this. I'm going to take them one book at a time. A couple of these look interesting. A couple of them, I've got my eyebrow raised. We'll have to see. But this article starts out with some essential Star Wars stories are coming to our galaxy. We'll see if they're essential or not. The first one we look at in particular, I think Disney wants to be essential. Anyway, we'll talk about that when we get to it. The rest, we'll see. So let's read through this. StarWars.com is thrilled to reveal 4 new books featuring never-before-told tales from across the Star Wars saga. Star Wars: Shadow of the Sith, a novel from author Adam Christopher, takes place after Star Wars: Return of the Jedi and finds Luke and Lando Calrissian on a mission to locate Exegol. Alarm bells just went off. The novel Star Wars Brotherhood by Mike Chen follows Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker amidst the chaos of the Clone Wars and Skywalker's rise to Jedi Knight. Star Wars Stories of the Jedi and Sith, a new middle grade anthology. 10 acclaimed authors. It's and then a YA young adult novel, Star Wars Padawan by Kirsten White. It depicts Obi-Wan in his early days as a student of Qui-Gon Jinn. Check out the official synopsis and release date below for all. So we're going to look through these synopses. I'm going to mute real quick so I can clear my throat. Yeah, nobody needed to hear that. Yeah, so let's go through these one at a time. So, Shadow of the Sith by Adam Christopher. This is coming out in June. Skywalker and Luke Skywalker and Lando Calrissian return in this essential novel set between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens. Yeah, we know there's some explanation that needs to happen between those two films. The Empire is dead, nearly 2 decades on from the Battle of Endor. The tattered remnants of Palpatine's forces have fled to the farthest reaches of the galaxy. But for the heroes of the New Republic, danger and loss are ever-present companions, even in this newly forged era of peace. Jedi Master Luke Skywalker is haunted by visions of the dark side, foretelling an ominous secret growing somewhere in the depths of space. Wow, I wonder what that could be. And on a dead world called Exegol. The disturbance in the Force is undeniable, and Luke's worst fears are confirmed when his old friend Lando Calrissian comes to him with reports of a new Sith menace. After his daughter was stolen from his arms, Lando searched the stars for any trace of his lost child, but every new rumor only led to the death. Wow, that took a dark turn. But every new rumor only led to dead ends and fading hopes until he crossed paths with Ochi of Bestoon, a Sith assassin tasked with kidnapping a young girl. Ochi's true motives remain shrouded to Luke and Lando, for on a junkyard moon, a mysterious envoy of the Sith Eternal has bequeathed a sacred blade to the assassin, promising that will give him answers to the questions that have haunted him since the Empire fell. In exchange, he must complete a final mission, returned Exegol with the key to the Sith's glorious rebirth, the granddaughter of Darth Sidious himself, Rey. As Ochi hunts Rey and her parents to the edge of the galaxy, Luke and Lando race into the mystery of the Sith's lingering shadow and aid a young family running for their lives. So, let's talk about this one. First things first, Adam Christopher is a wonderful author. I'm not going to pull up everything he's written. He's written a bunch of stuff, not all of it for properties like Star Wars. His own stuff's pretty good too. And it's probably good that Disney got a good writer for the journey between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens. Maybe if they got a good writer, or took the advice of some good writers during the sequel trilogy, it wouldn't be such a mess. But yeah, I don't know how many people are clamoring for the story of how Return of the Jedi Luke crumbled into what we saw in the sequel trilogy as Luke. I don't know how many Star Wars fans are going to line up to buy that book. And I also have no idea. Well, I have no idea, but I think Disney kind of has no idea what the heck to do with Lando. Clearly, they want to use him. I think they used him maybe best in Star Wars Rebels. I don't know if it's season 1, season 2. He had a great arc there. It was, I don't know, 2-3 episodes. It was short, but it was Lando. It was what you would expect Lando from Lando as a character, having seen him in Empire Strikes Back, having seen him in Return of the Jedi, having read him in the Thrawn trilogies. He was a character there. He's a businessman, a bit of a wheeler dealer. But then in the Solo movie, I don't know who that was. It was a entirely different personality, entirely different set of motivations and morality from the character portrayed in everything else he'd been in. And then in the last of this sequel trilogy movies, he basically did the exact same thing he did in Return of the Jedi. It'd be interesting to see a beat by beat comparison of all of the Lando screen time in Return of the Jedi and all of Lando's screen time in Rise of Skywalker. Be interesting to see how closely they mirrored each other. But anyway, we're going to get these two, and I guess they're going to be trying to figure out why the heck Palpatine is awake. Prequel trilogy asked an awful lot of questions and didn't have many answers, and the answers it did provide were kind of befuddling, really. So they've got some cleaning up to do there. They've tried to do it in comics. They've tried to do it in blog posts and articles, everywhere but on the screen during the movies. So we'll see how this next attempt to justify some of the sequel trilogy decisions and presentations goes in novel form. But I don't think anybody's going to buy this. It's a shame, too, because like I said, Adam Christopher is a good writer. He's a good author. And I don't know, maybe there's a story to be told there. I don't think people are excited to read it, which is a little unfortunate. But yeah, I don't think about this one. I think it's going to do really poorly. And I don't think that says anything about Luke. I don't think that says anything about Lando. I think it is directly with what they're trying to do there, right here, is justify the decisions made with Rey and the return of Palpatine in the sequel trilogy. I will say this. Fatherhood gets a bad rap in media. If you watch The Tomorrow War, who's the actor? The guy who plays Star-Lord. Anyway, spacing on his name right now, but if you watch The Tomorrow War, it's not a great movie, right? It's kind of a fun movie, drags in parts. Maybe it could have been a half hour shorter, um, but it's not like great cinema. But it's a fun film, and um, at least for me, it hit on some chords that I haven't seen many movies hit on recently, and that's um, some notes of family and particularly of parenting, of fatherhood. In that movie, there is uh, both a direct representation of deadbeat or absent fathers, and then the threat that that can happen again for the next generation. And in both of those instances, there's a redemption story and uh, avoidance, essentially, of repeating that. Um, Somebody who all the markers to be a bad dad are in place, all the motivations, um, all the prompting from the story is there. Yet, fatherly love and responsibility win out, and um, I guess in that way, it kind of subverts expectations. I love that portrayal of fathers, and I'm biased here. Like I'm a parent. I love my kids. I'm proud of my parenting, and it feels good to see that represented in story. But not a lot of movies do that right now. Deadbeat father stories are just, I mean, they're kind of a tired trope, I think, but they certainly still get made. So maybe they have commercial viability. But it's nice to see that, you know, Lando not only cared for his daughter, I think the ripped from his arms after his daughter was stolen from his arms. Um, so he clearly cared for the child, and stolen from his arms, at least to me, implies that he was trying to defend against that, just couldn't rise to that challenge and failed. And then what did he do? He searched the stars for any trace of his lost child. Um, we'll see what happens in the story if anybody reads it. I don't think I'll read this one. Probably not. I read a lot of Star Wars books, but I might skip this one. But Lando searched the stars for any trace of his lost child. That to me speaks of enduring effort, like not like poke around a little bit and see what you can turn up, but an enduring search. Yeah, I mean, it goes on here. Every new rumor led to dead ends and fading hopes until he, finally finds hope and gets help in the form of Luke. I mean, if you're stuck with a bad story to tell, and that is somehow charting a course between everything wonderful about Return of the Jedi and all of the dubious decisions of the sequel trilogy, is kind of a heartfelt and beautiful story to tell. A nice way to take that path. I just don't think it's a journey anybody's interested in going on. So anyway, enough about that one. Star Wars Brotherhood. This is by Mike Chen. I don't know anything about Mike Chen. To the best of my knowledge, I've never read or watched anything that he's done. But let's read about Brotherhood. Also coming out in May, apparently. Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker must stem the tide of the raging Clone Wars and forge a new bond as Jedi Knights. You already had me hooked with Clone Wars, so I'm intrigued. The Clone Wars have begun. Battle lines are being drawn throughout the galaxy. With every world that joins the Separatists, the peace guarded by the Jedi Order is slipping through their fingers. After an explosion devastates Cato Nymodia, I'm probably saying that wrong, the jewel of the Trade Federation, the Republic is blamed, and the fragile neutrality of the planet is threatened. The Jedi dispatch Obi-Wan Kenobi, one of the Order's most gifted diplomatic minds, to investigate the crimes and maintain the balance that has begun to dangerously shift. As Obi-Wan investigates with the help of a heroic Neimoidian guard, he finds himself working against the Separatists, who hope to draw the planet into their conspiracy, and senses the sinister hand of Asajj Ventress, one of my favorite bad guys, in the midst of that. All right. and senses the sinister hand of Asajj Ventress in the mists that cloak the planet. Cool misty planet setting, I guess. Excuse me. Amid the brewing chaos, Anakin Skywalker rises to the rank of Jedi Knight. Despite the mandate that Obi-Wan travel alone and his former master's insistence that he listen this time, Anakin's headstrong determination means nothing can stop him from crashing the party and bringing along a promising but conflicted youngling. Once a Padawan to Obi-Wan, Anakin now finds himself on equal but uncertain footing with the man who raised him. The lingering friction between them increases the danger for everyone around them. The two knights must learn a new way to work together, and they must learn quickly to save and its people from the fires of war. To overcome the threat they must face, they must grow beyond master and apprentice. They must stand as brothers. I'll give this one a read. Again, I don't know anything about Mike Chen. I hope he's a good author. Probably is if you landed a Disney gig. But I love this era of Star Wars. I love Obi-Wan and Anakin together. I don't know how many more coming of age tellings we need for Anakin. So the whole transition from Padawan to Jedi Knight and rebellion against Anakin, or seeking peership with him. There's a story to be told there. I'm interested for this one. I really hope they do it well. I don't know what else to say there. It's one of my favorite periods of Star Wars lore. The Clone Wars. And granted, they had 7 seasons of storytelling to develop those characters, so maybe it's not fair to compare Anakin from the Clone Wars or Obi-Wan from the Clone Wars to either of those characters in the movies, where they have, a lot to do and a little bit of time to advance those stories. And, as a result, individual characters, Anakin and Obi-Wan in this case, only have so much screen time. Even in the prequel trilogies, when both Anakin and Obi-Wan were very, very pivotal characters. In fact, I think there's probably an argument to be made for each of those characters that they were the central character of the prequels, but they can share it. Even though the Clone Wars has the edge in screen time to develop those characters, you can't take away the fact that they took advantage of that time and did it really well. Obi-Wan and Anakin from the Clone Wars are incredibly well done characters, incredibly consistent characters. And as much as the jump from, wide-eyed Anakin, slave boy Anakin on Tatooine and march into the temple and kill all the Padawans, Anakin in the prequel trilogies, the path that Anakin takes in the Clone Wars is a beautifully portrayed arc of his fall. So anyway, my normal pitch for the Clone Wars. If you haven't watched it yet, I'm jealous. I wish I could watch it again for the first time. So yeah, not much to say about this one. I'll give it a read. I love this era of the Clone Wars. I love those 2 characters. I hope they do them well. This one, Star Wars, Stories of the Jedi and Sith. June 2022. And this is an anthology. So Jennifer Heddle is the editor. Let's read through this and I'll give you my thoughts. The battle between good and evil never ends. The brave Jedi, the devious Sith, these iconic heroes and villains embody the struggle between light and dark that is at the very heart of Star Wars. In this exciting middle grade anthology, 10 acclaimed authors imagine all new tales for some of the saga's most popular characters, from Luke Skywalker to Darth Vader, from Obi-Wan Kenobi to Asajj Ventress, and beyond, complete with beautiful spot illustrations. Epic standoffs, cunning plots, courageous action, and ruthless anger are all here in the showcase of the enduring power of one of the greatest movie sagas of all time. It has a list of the authors. Some of these authors I know. I believe he's Indian author. Dyla Dawson is obviously a pretty well-known author. This is YA. what I think this is supposed to be middle grade. I think Dahlia Dawson also has done like erotica and stuff. So anyway, we'll see what happens there. Sam Maggs, she's pretty controversial in writing spaces. Alex Segura is a good writer. Yeah, anthologies are great. I mean, they're a wonderful way to get new authors, fresh faces, representation of underrepresented groups into traditional publishing. When I was first seeking traditional publishing, I wrote for anthologies and got picked up by a few. It's a good way to get a start. And I think it's a fun way for established authors, particularly ones like Dahlia Dawson, who I think Alex Segura too. I think they mostly do novel work. It's sometimes fun to write a short story. Depending on the length of these, like personally, I always struggled with, 5,000, 6,000 word short stories or shorter. I preferred my short stories to be a bit on the long side. 10,000 to 30,000 words is a nice spot for me for a short story. But I don't know how long these are intended to be. But yeah, it's fine. It's an anthology, so I doubt they'll all be good stories. It's also an anthology, so I doubt every story will be for every reader. But could be good stuff there. The one thing I will point out, I don't know how much illustration they're going to have. They say spot illustration, but Jake Bartok's good. I don't know if he's ever done any writing, but as far as a visual storyteller, he does beautiful artwork. I've seen some images he did for Star Wars of Ahsoka. He draws her really well. Actually, her, Rex, the 501st. I think he's done some Marvel stuff too. So I think he's Australian or New Zealand. Anyway, I don't think he's a US-based artist. But yeah, he does great stuff. So I would give this a look. I don't think it's for me. I'd say this was the middle grade one. Let's go up and see. Stories of Jedi and Sith. Yeah, new middle grade anthology. So I probably won't look. If I see it in Barnes and Noble or something, I might look it up. I might pick it up and look at the illustrations. Maybe I might read Alex's story or something, but we'll see. And the last one, Star Wars Padawan. This one will give us something to talk about. So this is by Kiersten White, and I've never read anything from Kiersten White. But let's look at this. This is coming in July 2022. Obi-Wan Kenobi struggles with his place in the Force as a young Padawan in this coming-of-age adventure. Okay. Obi-Wan Kenobi really wants to be a good Padawan, the best Padawan even. But that's feeling more and more impossible with his new master, Qui-Gon Jinn. All of Obi-Wan's friends are off training to be real Jedi, getting mission experience while he's on Coruscant, practicing his forms and sitting in silent contemplation. Ever since Qui-Gon's former master Dooku left the Order, it feels like Qui-Gon has been too busy trying to connect with the Force, arguing with the Jedi Council to properly train his Padawan. When Obi-Wan finally convinces Qui-Gon to take him on a mission to a remote planet, once explored by an ancient Jedi, his master doesn't show up the morning they are to leave, so Obi-Wan impulsively takes off by himself. Upon arriving on the mysterious lush planet, he encounters a group of teenagers with no adult supervision, who all seem to have some connection to the Force. Free from the constraints of the Order, Obi-Wan joins them in their daring adventures, but the Padawan side of him keeps questioning the teens' strange relationship to the Force and to the verdant planet around them. What all of it might mean to his future. Obi-Wan will test the limits of his relationship to the Jedi and to the Force in this exciting yet soulful exploration of one of Star Wars' most enduring heroes. Let's talk about this. Padawan. Obi-Wan Padawan. So one thing I'll note is the date for this, July 26th. That's an interesting date. And having nothing to do with the book. This is the Obi-Wan series. I did a live stream a little while ago, a couple days ago, talking about some speculation on it. One of the things I talked about was some of the speculation going around on when the Obi-Wan series might release on Disney Plus. And some of the speculation was leaning toward, it may be on or around May 4th, which happens to fall on a Wednesday, which is where Disney Plus is releasing new content these days. This would put this book coming out firmly after that. I don't know how many episodes Obi-Wan is, but let's see, May, June, July, end of July. It may put this novel coming out after the entire series is released, which might still support that May date. It's just an interesting time if this is a young adult novel, and I think this is the YA one. Why wouldn't you capitalize more on the weekly release of that show? Yeah, young adult novel, Star Wars Padawan. Why wouldn't you capitalize more on the release dates of that show to hopefully boost your book sales? I don't know. So if that isn't the case, and Obi-Wan isn't coming out on May 4th, it may indicate that we're going to see that show later in the summer, in June or July. So this can take advantage of that weekly release schedule. So we'll just have to see on that. But there's stuff to talk about with this. So Obi-Wan Kenobi, huge fan favorite. Even though I might be alone on an island here. Andor is the Disney Plus live action Star Wars show I'm most anticipating. It's the one that I think they have the most runway with and can get away with a lot, and hope they do. Obi-Wan Kenobi is probably the one that people are most hyped for, most anticipating, and probably going to be the most critical of. Disney really needs to get this one right. And if this synopsis of this YA novel is any indication, I'm concerned Disney's going to really miss the mark. And so let's talk about Obi-Wan. So this talks about Obi-Wan and his relationship with Qui-Gon. Qui-Gon is widely regarded by diehard fans of the prequel trilogies, of people of fans of some of the extended lore, as kind of a paragon of Jedi ideals, of high philosophical Jedi concepts. While within the actual Jedi Order, he was very much an outsider. He was an idealist in kind of a political pragmatic group. And there's even lines in the prequel trilogies, in the Phantom Menace, it must be because Qui-Gon's there, where Obi-Wan is telling him, telling Qui-Gon, Master, you would be on the council if you would just follow their rules, essentially. And Qui-Gon's like, why would I want to be on the council? Right? He's just genuinely uninterested in the politics of it, in the power structure of it. He's more interested in deepening his connection to the Force. Exposure to those concepts was important for Obi-Wan, but their relationship is interesting, not simply because Obi-Wan internalized all those learnings from Qui-Gon Jinn, but more, I think, because that wasn't Obi-Wan's natural state. If you look at Obi-Wan in the prequel trilogies, if you look at him all through the Clone Wars, I haven't read a lot of extended universe stuff with Obi-Wan in it. But so if you just take his screen time performances, he is a Jedi. He's a council member, but he is very much of the structured Jedi core. He's part of that organization, where Qui-Gon was very much an individual in it. Obi-Wan is a cog in the wheel, and happily so, purposefully so. He is, I mean, in some ways, he's kind of a Jedi fundamentalist. He's a rules follower. He doesn't have the deepest connection to the Force. He's not the best duelist. What he is a loyalist. And the path he takes, being on the council, being a general in a war, are things that Qui-Gon probably would have avoided entirely, or maybe pulled in Ahsoka and left the order. But Obi-Wan didn't. What made him great in his context was his willingness to succeed and excel inside that structure, and to work harder than everyone else. Like, he would never beat Dooku in a duel. He wasn't strong enough for that. He wasn't talented enough for that. But what he had that a lot of others didn't, and one of the reasons he was on the council, was he was on board. He was pulling in the same direction, right? He was a team player, and he was willing to commit work and do the job when other people weren't. And I think that's an important character and set of characteristics to have represented in fiction. A bad example would be Rey, because like all of her success was kind of just handed to her, to the detriment of the story. But Anakin is a good counterpoint for Obi-Wan, in that he has so much talent, but what he lacks is a lot of Obi-Wan's strengths. He lacks discipline. He lacks patience. He lacks a willingness to work with others and with respect to others, their interests, their needs, their pace, like all of these things are struggles for Anakin, and they're places where Obi-Wan excels. So why bring this up? Well, I get this first paragraph where Obi-Wan wants to be out there like some of the other Jedi, off on exciting missions. If we're looking at a young Obi-Wan, even though he doesn't have the talent, he doesn't have the strength of some of his counterparts, he's still, a young student Jedi. And, I could easily see a portrayal of him wanting to be off on some of these adventures, wanting a little taste of that excitement in life, even though those aren't things Jedi should crave. He's a young man. He's going to want those things. I get that. But this, upon arriving on the mysterious, first of all, he runs off on his own. That seems more like an Anakin thing than an Obi-Wan thing. Again, at his core, Obi-Wan is a rules follower. He's a team player. So right off the bat, this seems a poor representation of core components of Obi-Wan's character. Obi-Wan impulsively takes off after him, by himself. Really doesn't sound like Obi-Wan, but okay. He's young. Maybe this happens. Upon arriving on the mysterious lush planet, he encounters a group of teenagers with no adult supervision, and who all seem to have some connection to the Force. Okay, we've seen this in a lot of comic and book extended universe stuff. I think if you just watch the Star Wars movies, you probably would just be like, oh yeah, there's Force users. The good guys are Jedi. The bad guys are Sith. The Force is not a Jedi Sith thing. The Force is like mathematics or language. It's everywhere. It's ubiquitous. It just so happens that there are Force users, some of whom are Jedi, some of whom are Sith. Some are entirely unrelated to either of those organizations. It's like saying, there's mathematics all around the world, but everyone who uses mathematics isn't necessarily an engineer, right? The Force is everywhere, but everyone who uses it isn't necessarily a Jedi. So they've done this before. Really good extended universe book, Mace Windu book, Shatterpoint. They actually, it's another lush planet too. Mace Windu goes in search of his missing Padawan, who we got to see in action in the Bad Batch. But yeah, Mace Windu goes off to find his missing Padawan, and he's almost destroyed on several fronts on several occasions by tribal groups of Force users who are immensely powerful. They're not trained as Jedi, they're not trained as Sith, but they use the hell out of the Force. So we've seen this in other places. So not at all a surprise, right, to see a story about a young Jedi encountering Force users that are utterly unrelated to the Jedi. So that's cool. Free from their constraints of the Order, Obi-Wan joins them in their daring adventures, but the Padawan side of him keeps questioning the teen's strange relationship to the Force. Again, Obi-Wan joining them on their daring adventures. Like if he left because he felt Qui-Gon left without him, and then he got there and Qui-Gon wasn't there, I could see him, looking for Qui-Gon or going back or getting back in touch with, his superiors at the Jedi Temple. But this seems very non-Obi-Wan. so let's see. Obi-Wan will test the limits of his relationship to the Jedi and the Force in this exciting, soulful exploration of Star Wars most enduring era. Yeah, so him testing his relationship to the Jedi and the Force, this could be an interesting story. But I think it can only end one way, and that is we see the emergence of Obi-Wan as we see him in all other media, and that is as this pillar of the Jedi Order, not necessarily of a connection to the Force or anything like that, but a diehard, committed member, like card-carrying Union member of the Jedi Order, because that is what he is. When all else fails, when the Order is utterly destroyed, even Yoda has left to go into hiding in isolation. To live a more Qui-Gon style life. Obi-Wan sticks to the mission, right? He is in many ways the ideal of the organization, maybe not of the deepest connection to the Force or the strongest warrior. Certainly he's a good people person, so a nod to the negotiating skills in the other book. But so the only way this can end for Obi-Wan is with him reaffirming, or maybe in this case establishing, that lifelong commitment to the Order itself. Even throughout the Clone Wars efforts, when everyone in the Jedi is questioning what they're doing, their role in these wars, Obi-Wan is a general first, because that's what the Order asks of him. He is a bastion in that regard for the organization. For better or worse, that is the role he plays and the person he is. And it's because of that steadfastness, it's because of that adherence to principle, that he's able to be patient and wait for an opening and beat a vastly superior Force user, a vastly superior fighter in Anakin in Revenge of the Sith. So a couple of these books, anyway, gone on and on about that. I love Obi-Wan, and the whole dynamic between Qui-Gon Jinn, Obi-Wan, and Anakin is this fantastic triad of personalities. I think it only becomes more interesting when you introduce Ahsoka into the mix. She's almost a callback to Qui-Gon in many ways, but I would love to sit down and have coffee with Dave Filoni sometime and pick his brain about that. Just maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know. I think Qui-Gon as a character is motivates a lot of, or some of, at least some of the important choices Ahsoka has made through her character development. Anyway, I saw this article. I read these books. Two of them look super promising. One I will probably read. Let's look at them here. I'm probably going to read this Brotherhood one. I bet it's going to be good. I've never read anything by Mike Chin, but I hope it's awesome. Shadows of the Sith, I have no interest whatsoever in seeing the deconstruction of Luke and how we get him to where we get him in The Force Awakens and Death of the Jedi and all that. No interest in that whatsoever. If you loved the sequel trilogies, great. Here's a book for you. I'm glad it exists for you, and I hope you love it to death. Adam Christopher is an awesome author, so I'm sure it's going to be well written. Just not a story I want to see. Stories of the Jedi and Sith, middle grade anthology. Not really for me, but if I see it, I'll check out the illustrations. And then Star Wars Padawan, again, a YA novel. I'm probably not the target audience for that. I read a lot of YA stuff, but I don't know. I think if people, I doubt I will talk to anyone who's read this book, but if people do read it and say, no, it's a great portrayal of Obi-Wan and it really sets up his role in the Phantom Menace and then in the Clone Wars, and foretells his position in A New Hope, I'll probably pick it up and give it a read. I don't expect that'll happen, so I don't think I'll ever see this book in real life. Anyway, new stuff from Star Wars. I kind of wish the publishing arm would just stick to the High Republic. I'm not reading any of that stuff. I read some of it early on when they first started publishing it, because I'd heard a lot about Knights of KOTOR and things like that, and the game, how beloved that was. I haven't played it. And I was like, oh, I'll check this out. So I read some of the early stuff from the High Republic, and not for me. I couldn't get through it. So I did finish some of the comics, and they were fine, but I couldn't finish. I bought the first two novels. I didn't finish either one. There's just better stuff out there to read, so why waste your time on stuff that isn't grabbing you? So anyway, these 4 books are coming up. I will read one of the 4. 2 of them I think actually could be damaging to the Star Wars mythos, so I'll probably avoid those entirely. Hope all is well. If you stuck around this long, maybe give me a thumbs up, and probably help me push out these live streams to more people. If you're really into it, hit me with a subscribe. I don't think I have any subscribers yet on this channel. You could be my first. Hope all is well, and we'll see what grabs my attention tomorrow. I'll do another live stream then. Bye.